I'm back. I'm bored to tears. I don't know about you lot, but yeah, here we are in the centre of the coronavirus break, we'll call it that, and very little to do. Yeah. So while I'm waiting for other equipment to arrive, and there is a lot of it, trust me, it's just nowhere here. Yeah, I've got one of these. I bought a pedal, which we're going to see in another review. A spark booster. I thought to myself, oh, I'll just whiz out there and get one of the power supplies. Well, I would, but I haven't really got one. So I decided to buy one. Now, it was a long story. Yeah, I went off to Amazon, and everybody was selling this particular thing, this Palmer PWT05 MK2, for about £79, or about $100 in fact. And I looked at this one, and there's a few reasons why I chose it. We'll come back to that in a moment. But anyway, they had one on there, £49 returns. And I thought, yeah, grab it, Tony. It's only for a review and the odd plug in now and then, which is true, just now and then. So I did grab it, but this is not it. It gets worse. Still, it does brighten up the time while I'm sitting here by myself doing this, like you. So, sure enough, it arrived. The man dropped it at the door and wouldn't get close, as you would. So I picked it up, and as I was bringing it in, I did that. I could hear this rattling inside. I thought, uh-oh, could be a problem. I got it in here, on this very table. Yeah. And I just whipped it out. Well, eventually. They're a bit heavy, these are. Yeah, I pulled it out, like I'm pulling this one out. You've got the unit there. Might as well take this one out while we're going. It's an unboxing. That's boring. Yeah, so I pulled it out. It's not actually that big, is it, really? I had one of the guys say, oh, it's massive. Well, he would. Just kidding. But there it is, and yeah, I did that with it, and it went rattle, rattle, rattle. So I undid the 4 screws at the bottom. Let's just take a quick look. And inside, well, we're going to see inside this one. But inside, bits were rattling around, and I'll show you that when we get up close. Won't be on this one, but it was on the one they sent. So I called my friendly Amazon and said, hey, you sold me some crap. And back it went. Yeah. Did I get my money back? No. They put it on as a credit, so I messed around. Scary. Fancy sending it out with a piece rolling around inside on a power supply. I mean, that could kill somebody. They don't care. In any case, as well as the chunk, we get some cables. It's always nice to see. Yeah, you get a big wad of cables, which I think is pretty cool. Actually, there's loads of them. And you can put 2 into 1 and double voltages and all sorts of things. But we're going to take a look at them. Also got a mains lead from Europe that is totally, completely useless. They did provide a converter, but that one can go into the dustbin, and I'll use an English one. Yeah, remember England? Yeah, and I've got some more here, sort of extension leads. That should all be fun. I've got, what is that? Little rubber feet. We've got there. And that's about it. That's what you get for your money. Now, there are lots of reasons why I chose this one. It's pretty heavy as well. It's not so big. I mean, how big is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 5 inches by by about 4 inches. That's what that is. And its depth is about 1.5 inches. All in American and English. Yeah, I'm not into mils. Look, you can tell by age. Inches and feet work well for me because in my day job I deal with Americans, so that's good. Yeah, so I'll stick to inches. Okay, well I'm going to talk a little bit about the specifications of this and why I bought this one. And then we'll go and have a look closer. Well, the first thing about it is it's got 5 outputs. Well, a lot of them have got that. In fact, a lot of them have got 8 or 10 or more. And you can buy them for the sort of £20 or £25. You've seen them. You've all seen them. Yeah. But this has got 5 outputs that are 9 volts. Well, that's important, but you can get them to 18 volts with some of this stuff, which we're going to look at. But more important than that, first of all, they're all 250 milliamps per outlet. So what I'm going to do is, let's go and get a bit closer to this. I know you might say, well, this is all boring, Tony. It's not boring if you actually know much about some of these power supplies, and wait until I talk about the ones that I owned previously. It's coming up. So let's zoom in and have a quick look at this one. And yeah, and I'll be back. Okay, well let's get the inside out of the way first. Inside out? Ah, you'll get it. I'll get rid of this first. We've got CE approvals, we've got and we don't really have any rush compliance on there, but that's not mandatory, but them are. And we've also got where it's made, where it's designed, who it is, and all the rest of it. So it's as legal as you can get, should I say. Let's have a look inside, because this is the thing about power supplies. You can have problems. Okay, here's the lid off. Very pretty, isn't it? So what have we got? Well, we've got this toroidal transformer, which is always a good sign. And we've got the little bit of all the work required inside one of these, which is probably, yeah, what's needed. All I can say is it's pretty well made. It's all in there. I'm not going to bore you with it too much, because I shouldn't. However, just take a look at that for a moment. If we tip it up a little bit, you can see that it's got a sort of thread going through the middle and a nut on the top. Holding it in place, it's solid as it gets. But you can't see any screw on the other side. And that's what was wrong with the old one, the one that I had from Amazon. This screw, where it fastens on the main unit, had actually snapped off. Well, it would do throwing that sort of weight around, you know. Somebody's probably thrown it at some stage. So it had snapped off, and this transformer was just jangling around inside, and that's how they bothered to send it out. Purportedly checked. But it hadn't been checked. It's pretty obvious, and that's a good indication of what you can get when you buy used gear or returned gear from the likes of Amazon, who don't bother check it before they ship it back out. Well, they just knock a tenner off and sell it cheaper. Well, it's not a good idea. Yeah, so we got lots of bits down inside here. I'm never going to be able to show you much in here. You can, if you can see down in there, there's lots to look at, and there's probably all the protection and the I/O and the rest of it, and that's the rectification down there. That's how I see it. I don't think you could see it much different. Importantly, there is one thing to note on this unit that's not discussed anywhere. That green thing there has a fuse inside it. So if ever you get one of these that's got a problem, or it just doesn't work, have a look at that little green thing right there, because it's a mains fuse. And see that. So let's flip this thing over now. It's got legs. There it is. A PWT05 MK2. It's a universal pedal board power pack, they call it. Yeah. Power and overload switches on the end. We'll come back to that. It's made by Palmer. German design, made in China, just like all the others. Just like all the others. Part of the reason I bought this one is, first of all, it's got a standard connector here. Some of them don't have things like that. It's also switchable between 115 and 230. You can also turn it on and off, which again, some of them don't even have that. They just plug in and that's that. That's all you get for your money. Notice you've got all these places where you can sort of fasten it onto your floor unit. And here's the other end, all 5 of them, 9 volts DC. So we've got negative centre, and we've got the overload in red, we've got the power in green, and we've got these 5 outs, which are all 250 milliamps per output. And that's part of the reason for buying it. You know, it's got this quite high current for one of these as an output that a lot of the others simply don't have. Yeah, now, as far as power supplies go, I mean, this is made pretty much like all the others, I guess. Well, let me just go have a look at another power supply and show you the sort of costs involved. Well, here we go. I know it's different, but it's not that different. This is what's called a switch mode power supply. It's only got one output, but you could split that off and it is protected and all the rest of it. And there's its input. Doesn't have an on and off, but that's okay. Well, what's it say here? This one's 12 volts and 3 amps. So the output of this is substantially higher than the output of that. That's 1.250, 1.25 amps. And this is 3 amps. Yeah, pretty high output, yeah. Well, there he is. As I said, if you have the splitters and the rest, it's all protected and it all works. So how much do you think it costs to buy one of these from China? Any guesses? Well, I'm going to tell you. This thing here costs about $7.50. Yep, that's it. In total, $7.50. And no more than $1 to ship it from China. Yeah, that's a bit scary, isn't it? Now let's come back to this one. Well, I can see that it's got a switch on it. It's got a toroidal transformer rather than a switch mode type of power supply, but they work both just pretty much similarly, really. The outputs, you know, a DC output's a DC output. You can get away from that. I think it's got protection in it, and this one's got protection in it. That one's not switchable with a switch, but it is actually 100 to 240 volts, so it is switchable, just like this one is, but this one's got a little switch. What more can I say? Well, what I can say is that when you look at a power supply like this, it's a bit heavier because they're using that toroidal transformer, and they've got a few more connections and the rest of it. And this was about 70, I think, listed at some ridiculous money, but I think they were about £79 or something near there for one of these that you can go and buy. And this is what you receive, where I showed you. It comes in a box and all the rest of it. But £79, let's call that $100. Remember my $7.50. Remember that, don't you? Let's look at the cables. Well, this is a European one. Let's throw that in the bin right away. That's gone. Well, we've got these sort of extension ones. Comes in there, and it appears to wrap itself around there. Well, I could undo it. So look what we've really got. Yeah, it's all stuck together. So I hate to say this, while we've got that there, I can actually take this cheap one here and plug it in there like that. And guess what? Yeah, so I've now got a $10 cost. If that, that's probably $1.50. Yeah, it's something to remember. So this is daisy chaining a pile of stuff together. Right there. And what else we got in here? We've got a few niceties. And I suppose these do have a cost. Well, I know they do. They're nothing that dynamic. So look what we've got. It all looks good. Standard, male to male. It's this one. This one says voltage times 2. It's a voltage doubler. Very clever. So if I want 18 volts, I can do it. Let's move that. Current doubler. So if I feed in 250 milliamps, I can get out of it 500 milliamps. Clever, isn't it? That's useful. And then I've got all these other singular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. These other little mixed cables. How exciting is that? So you can see from this particular power supply that you get a number of connectors. They're all good. A number of converters to up the amperage or up the voltage. That's all good. I didn't see one anywhere that can flip it from center minus. Didn't see anything like that. Maybe it's there. By the way, looking at the manual here, it does actually say this power supply is capable of powering far more than 5 normal effects units, which normally have a power consumption of approximately 20 milliamps. They say. Well, let's take a look at one. I've got one here. What's this one set up to? Probably doesn't tell me. 40 milliamps. So I would say that it all sounds like a good idea. And that was one of the primary reasons for buying this thing. You might say, as Tommy did, he'll be seeing this at some stage. Tommy said, wow, that's huge. But actually, for what you get and what it does, what it's capable of more so, it's not huge, is it? Because some of those other ones that are out there that I've seen, yeah, they can be this big. They can also be $20 and horrible. Yeah. What about this one? You know, I could have used that other cable. And I've got 3 amps on all them. Yeah, that's a lot of amperage, that is. Give me $7.50. And I can assure you the quality in that is as good as that. Well, it's probably better. And I do know that all these approvals are correct because this is one of the power supplies I buy in my day job. Yeah, for me it's $7.50 or whatever it was. And of course, you've got to be very careful with power supplies. They've got to be, you know, legal. They've got to be safe. They've got to look after the customer. And that's one of the things I always look at when I'm talking about, you know, power supplies and approvals and equipment and approvals and all that sort of stuff. That's why I harp on a lot about it, because somebody could get killed, couldn't they? And some of the really cheap power supplies out there, trust me, that you see that are made in China, you've seen them. They're all over eBay, they're all over Amazon, they're all there. I'd be very wary with a lot of them. And that's why I spent a bit more money and bought a decent one. And it's not decent in the respect that, hey, this one isn't made in China, because it is made in China. But the difference is that Palmer is a company that's been around a long time. Number one. Number two, they're actually based in Europe. Number three, they'll be the people that are doing the importing, and they would be responsible should somebody get killed. Now, because they are the importer and they are the designer, they will have that product made up to a standard and not down to a price. And that's why this costs a little bit more money. But it's not worth £79. You might argue, oh, it's worth far more. Look at the Voodoo Labs ones. I've seen them now, touching past £200. Now, that's a lot of money for a power supply. I don't care what you say. And I can tell you something else too. Just from my personal experience, I have owned a lot of Voodoo Labs equipment for a long time. I own a GCX switcher. In fact, at one stage I think I had 3 of them. I've got a ground control, or one of the cutback ones these days, but I've had all the others that they make. I've even got still a System Mix Plus out there in the studio. Yeah, or that way. I always do that. Yeah, so it's all good. And none of it's ever let me down. But you know what? I went out and bought a Voodoo Lab power supply some years ago now. It was one of the dear ones. I think it was £120 at the time I bought it. So it wasn't cheap even then. Must be 10 years ago. Must be. Something like that. And you know what? It failed. I never went back. I never went back. Anyway, a few years ago I bought another one. It wasn't a Voodoo Lab one. It was called a DC brick. Now, you'll know about them. You will have seen them. A DC brick. I was looking for it just. It's probably winged its way to the bin by now. But I did have it out there in the studio to remind me never to buy another one. The DC brick. Yeah, that failed too. Two of the outputs on that one just stopped. Bit like the Voodoo Lab actually. They just stop. And I had the Voodoo Lab apart at the time. You aren't fixing it just like that. So that's two brands, the DC brick and the Voodoo Lab power supplies. I never went back to, and I never will. And that's why one of the reasons I bought this. It's a really good power supply. And you know, I actually bought this. Nobody's telling me to say, hey Tony, sell one of these for us, because I'm not doing that. I don't do that. Here it is, paid for, and it's pretty awesome. Let's talk about something else for a second that I reviewed a very long time ago. It might not even be on the market today, but I'll show you. Here it is. Comes in a little black bag, just like I don't know what somebody would keep all the spells in. So you open it up like that, you know. And out it comes. Oh my God, Tony, what have you got here? Well, what I've got here is I haven't had this out in some time. Shows how often I use it. This is called an Eneloop. Oh, not an enema, an Eneloop. Oh my God, Eneloop. It's made by Sanyo, and what it is basically, you get your little charger, and you can charge it up. Put that in there. And charge it up off the mains. And interesting for you, it's got an American connector, which I have to put a converter on for. When it's charged up, you should put this on your pedal board down there, and it'll power all the all them fantastic quantities of pedals that you've got. Now you might say, this is useless. Well, you could say that. I've got an itch. But in fact, I did a review on this some years ago. And I'm telling you now, it lasted for hours and hours and hours on end. And you can turn it on. I've just turned it on. You believe this or not? I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually on. I haven't had that. How do I turn it on? Yeah, hold it in. I haven't had that on for 3 years. Believe me, just believe me. I even had to struggle to find it. All I can tell you is that was brilliant. And if I look at it here on the back, it's a sort of review of a number of things. This power supply review. This one, it's lithium ion. It's 9 volt out. It's a 5 volt DC input at 2 amp. And it's DC 9 volts total output at 2 amp. So it's actually higher powered than that, which is 1.25 amp. And you can see on the back here, well, I don't know if you can, but it has a sort of green and amber and a red. And when it's on green, it's 60 to 100% charged after 3 years. Wow. I know when I did this at the time, when I reviewed this at the time, it was an incredible piece of gear. I'm telling you now, this was running for 10 or 12 hours off one charge with all the pedals running. It's part of the review that I did. It's somewhere on my channel. If you search for Sanyo Eneloop, E-N-E-L-O-O-P, you'll find it. I can't overstress how good that was at the time. Now listen, there's not much more else I can show you about this. I can plug it in if you insist. And I can connect a cable up if you insist. And I can plug it into that pedal over there if you insist. So that is really the review of the PWT05 MK2. And I think, to be honest, because I saw the other one from Amazon, takes this one down a little bit. Now it could have been thrown around harder than it should be, but I think to myself, if that mounting can be snapped off as it was, because I went in and had a look, then there has to be some sort of weak point. And if you're going to put this on your pedal board and it does get thrown around, I wonder if it'd break. So I'm going to give this one, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to give it an 8. Yeah. If you can handle an Eneloop and they're still available, I'd give that a 10 all day, which I probably did at the time. It's just an awesome piece of gear. So that's the PWT05 MK2 power supply, switchable between every voltage, so you can go around the world with this thing, and it's all good. I'm going to show you something I've just found in the studio. Just while we're faffing around, that is. I've upgraded my Mesa Barber amp. I can't even say it, can you? What model's this thing? It's a micro dark. You can take it bed with you, plug it in, keep you warm in cold nights. Yeah. We're going to make a little review about this one. Not in this video. Yeah. So there it is. The Palmer PWT05 MK2. And the Mark 1, by the way, is different. Just in case you go looking. So until next time, I hope you've taken on board the things I've said. It's not much to look at by way of plugging things in and things like that, but I think most guys have got a need for power supplies off and on. So consider what I've said in here, because it's all been based on my own experience. And yeah, experience is sometimes difficult to buy, isn't it? Till next time. And don't forget, if you're over 39 or God knows what after that, go and get checked for prostate cancer. It could save your life. And stay safe out there, won't you? Especially right now.